First video, I wanted to clip it out so I didn't repeat myself. I kind of took you through what I've learned about his military. We know about his history. If you don't, it's wild. It's very, very dark. And he ends up in the Marine Corps, ends up getting in trouble right along with guns. So guns, they're armed. Like this is the theme all the way through. He does 2 years and 11 months, but the last 9 to 11 months, apparently he has an opportunity to do brig time. He's court-martialed. They allow him to go home and see his biological father. Now let's not forget that father, stepfather, all of them were allegedly, according to him, part of the army, mind control, all the things. Now I don't know if you remember when Candace played this clip, and I'm gonna screenshot this and put it up. The guy's website's there. I mean, I'll put it up there, but you can go find it on YouTube. She played like 5, maybe 6 minutes of it, where this lady who, it says a former wife of the colonel. I believe he's passed by now because this was in '98. So she actually had, her name is Catherine Griggs, and it might come up as K Griggs. She ended up marrying Marine Corps Colonel George Griggs. Okay, now I'm talking about the early, all through the '80s, for years. He started his whole process in Vietnam and kept it afloat. But she specifically, like, kind of pointing to the '80s here. He was a graduate from Princeton. He 4 years studying mind control, and then ends up going to NATO Defense College over in Rome, and becomes a spy, right, and an assassin from Vietnam until, I guess, when he just couldn't do it anymore. He was like a obliterated alcoholic, right? And so what he shouldn't do, but I'm sure he had so much weight, you just can't do it. With a lot of other demons, you'll be able to see this. This is wild, y'all. I'm just gonna highlight as he's in his drunken stupors and all the things. She's like, otherwise he's a robot. He just, like, military, just. But when he was drinking, he was really at it. He would do what most people would call a pillow talk, but he would just unload all this information. So now, mind you, like I said, he's a spy. He'd been a spy, an assassin since Vietnam, and he had mastered basically mind control. Was actually done like the whole time. It was years of mind control. Yes, MK Ultra was involved. Bill Clinton was profiled. One of the profiled boys that were part of this whole thing. She says it's like a joint military mob, and it's a partnership basically. Vietnam is where they first started these experiments, where it was done on boys and young soldiers. Okay, who went over there. Listen, this is going to end up to why we ask where we're at today. I believe these partnerships and operations were conducted in Korea and Vietnam at the highest levels of the Marine Corps, as well as the Army and the Special Operations Forces. The individuals are actually based out of Brooklyn, New Jersey, based on this report, and she calls it a mob. He will refer to it later on as, if you were in this, there's not many, but the selected few, it's the firm. And so she's explaining that, her husband, there was a couple of generals, you got Heinz Kissinger, you got Casper, but we're part of a group of Zionists who came over from Germany. That was Operation Paperclip, if you have it. If you know. And what they ended up doing is getting into laundering the banks and cash transactions and drugs and stuff like that. But the military was involved in bringing them over here, allegedly, according to Operation Paperclip, anyway. But military, this is key, personnel are all involved once they retire. They go into drug and secondary weapons sales. Or maybe if they have a spit and clean DD-214. Okay? I'm just saying. Okay? Think about that. So she does preface that they know they're protected, right? Like it's like a mob. And so judges, she mentions like quite a few people in here. But she's saying it's a very small society, like cult type of a group. And she's heard that when they are colonels, it's the same thing as being part of the Skull and Bones, and that's where the cult society comes in. and cap and gown. I'm not too familiar with that one, but I'm sure it all goes together. Which has a lot of intelligence officers, wait for it, and boys who have been raped. Okay? Do a lot of homosexual enticements. This keeps them from telling secrets. That are doing this, they are having sex parties, orgies, etc. The men who rise to the top are the ones who are picked to have the pool party. She actually calls Monica Lewinsky a trickster. She calls her, she's a scandal. She's called a tricks expert. Think about that. That's a lot to absorb. Now, with this whole, with the whole skull and bones like process, what have you, she said that they've actually at that time in 1998 had adopted it in the army as a like part of the induction, like the skull and bones methods and stuff. So it's been, but she calls it a homosexual hierarchy. This was in 1980s. Okay? Her interview was in 1998. She's married to Colonel George Griggs in the 80s. Is it possible? Because she then goes to go on and say there was a group of sexual psychologists and psychiatrists from Vienna that there was a whole range of them that were studying sexual perversion. Oh, okay. Harvard, Yale, Johns Hopkins, Colorado group. Wait, that's a Colorado group. And a lot of these guys their experience started in Vietnam, because that's when this whole thing starts. They took these little boys, right, and did the same thing. At that time, she talks about Bosnia, and they're training future leaders in perversion. She talks about what's called it's called psychological terrorism. And Candace has talked about this. I mean, you think about Tucker, Megan, everybody that Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin and all them pieces of shit. So this was an entire program set up in layers. You can call it like Darvo, where you learn to deny attacks, to reverse the role, be the victim, be the accused, whatever. What she is saying is they are psychologically, does it sound familiar? Hold on a second. Psychologically and financially trying to destroy me because I'm telling the truth. I was being handled on the 4th of March, 1996. My home was broken into. They tried threatening me and so forth from there. Each time I was totally traumatized. They sabotaged my car. They are doing psychological operations in my home. This is being done to other women and wives and men who don't go along with the program. They poison people. They would mind jag me. When the psyching, gang stalking, does that sound familiar, was beginning, I had white blouses. They would paint black dots on them. Later, they would put lots of batteries in drawers. Then they would put 12 screwdrivers on the table. You can't believe what horror I went through. I sacrificed a lot. Now, let's go back to the interview with Candace and Victor. What do you try to do? What do you try to do with the beginning? And then the whole ship's kind of like, where you start kind of reversing roles, and he's the victim, but he accused. I mean, he played this whole part. You don't think, is it possible that Victor Marx was scouted by the government in the midst of that, whenever he was having this trouble, and whatever that trouble may have been? I don't know. Again, back to the sloughs, if that's the case, and he did get in trouble in that period of time to have to like wait that extra 8+ months. What happened in the 8 or 9 months? Was connected to Colonel George Griggs, or in that whole orbit? Because remember, it's the Marine Corps and the Army, which I believe his father and stepfather was Army, and then he chose the Marines. I might be wrong with that. But remember, this is the firm, right? This is the firm. I would highly doubt that the firm would allow these guys to go run amok. Meaning, once they get like sought out, they're going to be tracked, handled, and all the things in the meantime, because they're used for plants, activities, whatever the case may be. I'm not the best researcher. I don't know what were some connections there. Was Frank Turek up under these people? Was Rob McCoy up under this whole umbrella of things? Because this was Colonel George Griggs' neck, and he had a hand on half of the United States Marines, according to Catherine at a good period of time. On the next video I want to talk about some of the allegations against him, some of his activities, things that he claims he's done, but won't prove it, won't answer it. This guy's running for governor, guys. Like, he doesn't think he needs to say, well, this is why I said I saved this many people. I want to touch on Holly, which is the alleged kidnapped from Canada, from him and Eileen, his bride, for a $25,000 cost. I mean, we listened to this girl's her whole testimony. I don't believe that she's lying, and I encourage you guys to go listen to the interview that she has with, I can't remember the name. I know you can find out on X, and it's Holly. You just put Holly Victor Marx in Canada, and it'll probably come up. And anyway, so sorry about the clips, because that's just the way I work. I mean, I think about it, I clip it, somehow it works together. In the meantime, if you want to go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, I don't know how many I need to go live, but I would much prefer to go live because I like to talk. I like to interact. And these videos are very hard. I have someone that works for me, but we're just not techie like that, right? So I'm looking to hire someone else for that, for the content, because the content's overloaded. Either way, share your thoughts. In the next video, I want to go into like the allegations, some of their activities they said they have done, like what's gone on around their family, how he's still able to carry his first class arms dealer's license. Just, I mean, with everything that's happened, he's brought on airstrikes, is what he said in an interview. I mean, anyway, so like, let me know what you think, and I will get to the next video soon. Again, don't forget to go subscribe.